Today's wish comes from Smiley Poswolsky. Smiley is an internationally renowned keynote speaker, workplace belonging expert, and best-selling author of 4 books that have been translated into multiple languages, including The Quarter Life Breakthrough, Friendship in the Age of Loneliness, and his latest, The Workplace Belonging Toolkit. He's worked with major brands like Google, Apple, Verizon, and Chase, and his work has been shared all over the popular press. Plus, he's got an adjective for a first name, so not too many people can say that. Smiley, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe. Thanks so much for having me. Good to be on.
So before we get to your wish, I know I'm going to get listener feedback on this, so let me just ask you, what's with the name?
Yeah, so Smiley is actually, surprise, surprise, not my real name. My birth name is Adam. My mom did not name me Smiley. I live in the Bay Area now, but I grew up in Boston, so she wasn't, living in a hippie commune or anything like that. But it's actually a nickname from high school. So I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. I went to a very big public high school. I wanted to play a sport my freshman year. Most of you are probably listening to this on audio, so you can't see me. And even Joe here on Riverside, you probably can't fully see me, but I'm not that big of a guy. So football wasn't going to happen. Soccer was also not going to happen. I think our soccer team was one of the best teams ever in the state. So I went out for one of the only sports left, which was cross country. I didn't know what the sport was. I assumed it was skiing, but it's actually running, right? You go run 3 miles or 5 miles or 10 miles on the weekend. So a couple of weeks into practice, we're doing a hill workout, which is exactly what it sounds like. You're just running up and down a hill over and over again. And, I'm outside, enjoying myself, smiling, having a good time, being like, New England, fall weather, getting exercise. And my coach is this hard-nosed Boston guy who starts screaming at me. What the hell are you doing smiling, kid? Stop smiling. Stop puking, kid. Stop puking. Stop smiling. Stop puking. So after that, the team nicknamed me Smiley. I was the slowest kid on the team. I never placed at any of our races, but I was like our cheerleader. I'd get us pumped up before every single race. I ended up running cross-country, indoor, and outdoor track all 4 years, all 12 seasons. I became captain my senior year of the cross-country team, and I was still the slowest kid on the team, but I had a role to play, and I mattered, and I belonged. And I think at its very essence, at its very core, that's what belonging is, right? This sense that every single person on our team matters, has a voice, has a role, knows what their role is, feels celebrated for that role. And all too often, unfortunately, people every day at work do not feel that way.
Okay, so that's a great wish. I'm wondering what the cost of that is, of this great disconnection that we're now in deeply. Why is it that companies need to pay attention to this more?
Yeah, I think just first on like the human level, pulling back on like what the costs of disconnection and loneliness are. 50% of Americans right now are lonely. Loneliness is dangerous to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's correlated with increased risk of stress, anxiety, depression, even early death. So like this is a really big deal just on a human and health and well-being level. And there's a bottom line business case to be made for connection. So lonely employees, more missed days at work, double the sick days, 45% lower productivity, lower quality of work, higher risk of turnover. They cost their employers $406 billion per year in lost productivity.
So it's not just a health and wellness initiative, it's a business case too.
Yeah, and on the flip side, employees have high levels of belonging, 56% increase in job performance, 50% drop in turnover risk, 75% reduction in sick days, 18 times more promotions, double the raises, 170% increase in your employer promoter score, the likelihood you're going to recommend your job to someone else, which results in an annual savings of $52 million. For a large firm. So it's
not a small
real
thing.
Business bottom line issue, right? That is a lot of money. And it's a per employee savings. So we're talking a lot of money. And I think all too often belonging is one of those, it's soft skills, it's human skills, it's people skills. We got to worry about strategy. We got to worry about marketing. We got to worry about innovation, creativity, design, social media, all of these other things. And then it's like belonging. Let's do a team building day. And it's like, it's not enough. It's too late by then.
Yeah, so it isn't just something that's a determination. It's got to be a design. So leaders may know these stats. If they don't, they know now. So where do they start?
Yeah, I think we have to kind of design for human connection and design for belonging at every single level. So, yes, I think it does start at the top in terms of leadership prioritizing this. But I like to say, you know, we got to move from go talk to HR. Like, belonging is an HR thing, it's a culture thing, it's people, it's talent, to belonging is everyone's job. So if I were able to kind of pull the strings, I'd basically be like on every single JD position description, in addition to all of the tasks that you have, in addition to all the things you're technically responsible for, be like belonging, your own belonging, the belonging of the people around you, the belonging of your team, the belonging of people you haven't met yet at the company, the belonging of every single client and customer. And I'm not saying like actually like you're responsible for every single person that you meet's belonging, but you're responsible for caring and being interested in who they are as a person and making sure that they feel welcome at the company and making sure that they're able to do their best work. And I think the companies that really are able to build that culture of belonging design for it at every single level, right? Design for it at that kind of basic one-on-one level, the team level, the organizational level. So that's a big piece there. And then I think the other thing is to, we always have thought of kind of purpose in the workplace around mission and vision, right? Which is kind of these grandiose mission statements. But I think in the current climate, especially when it comes to belonging, is making sure that every single person has a personal purpose as well, right? And knowing what that is, knowing how their role contributes to what the team is doing, to what the company is doing, and can really articulate that. And that they feel that that's actually seen by especially by their supervisor, by their manager, by their boss, but frankly, by the entire organization. And that's a big shift, like that this sense of belonging isn't just at the kind of organizational top level, like the website or the employee handbook level, right? Or the we're changing the world level, or we have X billion dollars of assets under management level, but actually at the one-on-one human to human level. Are we listening to our people? What are they asking for? What are their specific needs? Do they have a child that they don't have daycare for, or Tuesdays at 2 p.m. that they need to go pick up, right? Like those little things, that's kind of where we find belonging a lot.
Yeah. So not just recognizing people for who they are, but recognizing what they are, what they bring to the table, what life experiences, what challenges and opportunities they're facing, and bringing into work from their personal life, and making that visible as well.
Yeah, and not just having the survey, right? I think all too often people will be like, Smiley, we do belonging. Like we have an employee engagement survey. Like we did a survey. We did 2 surveys, right? Or we went around the conference room, or we went around the Zoom call or the Teams call, or like everyone threw something in the chat. And I think belonging was everyone's feedback in the survey listened to? What's everyone's voice in the room listened to? It's one thing to ask the questions on the survey, but then the survey goes into some, file somewhere. And we listen to, okay, we kind of got the average. We know what people want, but did we follow up with the 3, 4, 5, 6 people, 15 people, 300 people that wrote something that was like, ooh, that was pretty constructive. That was hard to hear. That wasn't great. Like I could dismiss it, or I could be like, we need to follow up. Like, let's go deeper. Let's continue the conversation. We can't do everything that you're asking for. Perhaps now, perhaps not in 6 months, perhaps never, but we can have those conversations. Right? I can be curious as a leader. I can be curious as a manager. I can keep those doors open rather than shut them.
Okay, so let's turn to tactics. You've written about hybrid work, that it's here to stay. And for many people, this is a fixed reality now. But it's not just about having a hybrid policy. You think companies need a hybrid purpose. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think the kind of level one especially kind of in the post-pandemic world, like it was all about how many days a week in the office, right? And that's still an important thing to figure out, especially around being intentional, right? We don't want like some people coming in on Wednesdays, some people coming in on Thursdays, like then nobody sees each other at all, right? But I think really what we're actually going for is, are we creating a purpose for our hybrid work? And I think that purpose should be around human connection. So what all too often happens is it's like, okay, our in-person days are Wednesdays, or, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for example, work from home on Mondays and Fridays. Everybody wants to work from home on Mondays and Fridays, right? So then what happens is people leave the breakfast table with their kids, right? They don't see their daughter in the morning, or they see their daughter for 3 minutes instead of 30 minutes. They don't exercise. They rush to put on clothes. They're like, oh my gosh, I got to take off my sweatpants and put on real clothes. They get in the car, they go sit in traffic for 40 minutes, or they get on the subway or the bus, they get to their desk, their boss who called the meeting isn't even there, right? All of their colleagues are on noise, have noise canceling headphones on, and are on wall to wall Zoom meetings all day long anyway. And they're like, why did I just sit in traffic for 40 minutes? Right? Not why was I not able to see my daughter this morning? Why was I not able to exercise this morning or actually have breakfast? Right? Or journal or meditate or whatever. What are we doing here? So if we're going to bring people in person, it has to be around creativity, collaboration, connection. There has to be a purpose there. And that doesn't mean that we don't connect when we're virtual or remote. We also need to connect there. We need to connect all of the time. So what I mean by hybrid purpose is it's not just where we work, it's how we work, right? It's what we're doing. So, I think a specific thing is I think we really have to build those relationships in person and then deepen them virtually, right? I think it's really hard, especially for younger employees, new employees, to start relationships from scratch remotely. It's possible. We've seen that it's possible, right? Many companies hired hundreds, if not thousands of people virtually during the pandemic and continue to do so, right? Many global teams continue to do so. But they have these touch points of in-person, whether it's orientation, onboarding, training, quarterly team offsite, annual conference, whatever it is where people come together. Those in-person moments are critical. And then we can go deeper virtually. It's incredibly difficult to never see your colleagues ever in person and build a deep, real, creative, sustained relationship.
Yeah, so there has to be a rhythm and there has to be a reason.
Well said. Yes. A rhythm and a reason. Yeah. And ritual. Like that's something I talk about a lot. And I really, in my talks, really try to kind of give people, habits, rituals to kind of design for human connection, whatever it is. So like, for example, like one thing would be to like try one new thing every meeting. Right? Incredibly hard to do, especially for people that have 8 meetings a day. You're like 8 times, trying 8 new things. But I mean, they can be very slight little things. It can be like a different person facilitating. It can be like you're playing a song at the start of a meeting. You're doing a check-in. You have a different prompt, right? Like you put on a hat for one meeting and take off the hat for the next. Like these little things just go a long way to keeping people focused, entertained, interested. Switching up facilitators is really powerful when it comes to inclusion and just kind of creating a more dynamic group situation. Another kind of little simple tactic I talk about is Thrive interviews, right?
Right.
It's kind of building off of, obviously there's exit interviews, which people know, like they're pretty useless. Like someone's complaining and telling you everything that they hate about their job, their last day, which is pretty useless information because they're leaving. And then Adam Grant has kind of help make viral the term stay interviews, right? Which is like helping people stay. Like what would make you want to stay? Like instead of you leaving, what would make you want to stay?
You can do that right away.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
When they're onboarded.
Right, which is great. Exactly. You can do that. Exactly. You can do that when they're hired or, periodically. But I, was thinking, why not take it a little step further, which is what would make you thrive? So staying, if you think like, yeah, I'm staying in my job, it's a little like hesitant, reluctant. It's like you're doing the bare minimum, you're getting paid, you're checking the boxes, your boss is happy, but you're probably not thriving as an employee, let alone as a human being, as a person. So what would make you want to thrive? And again, the purpose of having these conversations is not for employers to say, oh, we have to do every single thing Joe wants. He wants to come in only on Tuesdays. He doesn't like email. He doesn't use a calendar, whatever he wants. Like that's going to make Joe thrive is like, he refuses to use a computer. No, it's that we get to know what you need to do your best work. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Do you do your most creative work alone with 1 or 2 people in a bigger team? Do you like quiet space? Like, are you social? What kind of social connection energizes you, exhausts you? What do you need to do your best work? Having those conversations goes such a long way to making someone feel seen and heard and celebrated. How do you like to be celebrated or acknowledged for your work? Do you want to have like an appreciation party, or do you want a note? Do you want nothing? Like, what does that look like, for you? So just having those conversations, I think, is really important.
His name is Smiley Poswolsky, and I'm all smiles as a result of this conversation. Smiley, thanks for sharing your wish with us today.
Thanks for having me on, Joe.